Hello and welcome to the second part of this series called From Pedagogy to Andragogy and Beyond, Exploring Lifelong Learning in a Montessori Context. My name is Terrence Milley, and I'm filming here from the beautiful land of the Six Nations of the Grand River and the Mississauga of the Credit First Nation, who hold the treaty with the Crown for these lands. I also remember the chain of Anishinaabe ancestors who served through time immemorial as stewards of this land, and remember myself as a white settler in this place with much to learn, and one who needs to walk the lands with care, with curiosity, and with an open mind. In part 2, we will explore the contributions from Dr. Malcolm Knowles to adult education. Dr. Knowles was a prolific writer throughout his life. His interest in adult learning blossomed early, and he spent his career developing his ideas of how to meet the needs of these adult learners. He identified a major problem for adults because educators used pedagogical ideas and implemented them for adult learners. Pedagogy, coming from the Greek word pedos and agagos, pedos meaning child, and agagos meaning leader. So child-leading ideas were being implemented for adult learners. Thusly, Dr. Knowles searched for a new term that would describe his work and describe the process of leading adults as something different from leading children. He discovered the old German term Andragogy and revived its use. Andragogy means man leading, with an intention of man to indicate all adults. Obviously a problematic word. It excludes approximately half of all adults. Dr. Knowles would tell an origin story of education and of how we got the education system we have. And it goes something like this. Ancient educators of Chinese, Hebrew, Greek, Roman, and other origins have worked with and within and written about adults in education, even though scholars have written scarcely about this topic in modern times. But during the Dark Ages, monks stored ancient knowledge about adult education on vellum scrolls in the basements of cathedrals and chapels. As the information on these animal skins rotted, the monks began to notice there was a problem. They decided that they needed to restore the scrolls even if nobody could read them. So they set up simple monastic schools focusing on teaching the skills needed for copying the scrolls. The skills were limited to the psychomotor dexterity required to read and write. The technicians did not have to write their own thoughts. They did not have to write their own ideas. They did not even have to think their own thoughts and ideas. They simply had to copy and make copies look beautiful. The teaching methods were simplified, and the monks documented these new processes and methods on papyrus scrolls as well. Then, towards the end of the Dark Ages, when the European nobles decided that they wanted to educate their children, they had a choice to make. They could model the education system from the ancient ways of adult learning, or they could use the newer monastic ways, which required only the mechanics needed to read, to write, and to copy. Well, Dr. Knowles called the monastic choice a massive tragedy in education. This meant that the learner's own experience, and indeed the learner themselves, was excluded from education. The core methodology of adult learning is the analysis of experience. Without experience, learning is not possible. Adult learning for Dr. Knowles followed 5 main principles: that the learners needed to know why, what, and how they were learning, that they needed to have autonomous and self-directing nature within their learning, they needed to bring their previous experience as a resource and have built-in kind of mental models with this experience to their new learning. And they needed to be ready to learn when scenarios were real life based and could be focused on a developmental task. So this could mean that those real life experiences could be actual experiences that those people had, or they could be experiences that they read about through a case study that they would then explore in a group. And they needed to be intrinsically motivated because of some kind of personal payoff for completing this level of study. So those are the contributions that came to adult education from Dr. Knowles.